Good afternoon, everybody. It's a crisp 64 degrees today in Milwaukee, and so I figured it'd be the perfect day to go to the beach. Oh!
DJ Brian out of the ATL with the youngest, hottest DJ in the city right now, DJ Squall. Keep them hitting, bro, hitting, bro, hitting.
What's up? Here I am, out in nature, just for you. Alright, I'm not a professional YouTuber yet, so I've got my notes. Today I wanted to talk about motorcycling and minimalism and how they're more interconnected than one might think. Alright, it looks like I'm basically in the background of some wedding photos, so I'm going to move this operation. This seems as good a spot as any. As I was saying, minimalism and motorcycling. What's up with that? So there's a lot of practical applications for minimalism and motorcycling. One of them being your wardrobe. You can really only wear so many things on the motorcycle. Coming from a female perspective, I've got a lot of options in all the other realms and ways that I would dress. We can wear dresses, skirts, capris, shorts. I mean, men can wear whatever they want to, but just culturally it's less common for men to deviate from shorts and pants. But on the motorcycle, the safest things they tend to be more expensive, and they tend to be pants and long sleeves and jackets. The more you ride your bike, the more you're just wearing somewhat of a uniform every day. Same boots, same pants, same jacket, and you tend to develop this minimal wardrobe to the point where you're not really wearing your other clothes, and it just doesn't make sense to hold on to them. On the note of having a more simple wardrobe, you also end up physically carrying fewer things with you. I'm often just using the same backpack every day. I carry what I can physically carry on me and nothing else. So you are distilled down to your essentials, but because you kind of carry everything on your person all the time, you're almost in survival mode and you're ready for anything. I know that I feel like if someone sprung something on me, I'm like, all right, I've got everything in my backpack, I'm totally fine, I can go. And it kind of gives you this like vagabond or traveling mentality. It feels like you're always in travel. It's like the carry-on lifestyle. And some people have saddlebags and things like that on their bike, and then maybe they have a change of clothes, but for the most part, me having all my things on my person, I have to carry less, and then I only carry the essentials and am more intentional and meaningful with the selection of those items. More often than not, driving a car is just a practical thing. It's to get you from one place to another. A lot of people don't consider their car part of their identity or use it for any tool of self-expression, but motorcycling is inherently a bit of a luxury, or it's not considered essential. So when you have a motorcycle, you're merging these two kind of things. You're merging a hobby and a form of self-expression with a mode of transportation. Personally, I don't have a car at all. I only ride a motorcycle, and I use the bus or the beautiful gift economy and carpool with people if I need to get places. Point is that a motorcycle is not something you feel obligated to have. And me personally, it adds tremendous value to my life, both from a practical standpoint of getting me from one place to another, and also it brings me joy as a hobby, it's a wonderful way to just like experience bliss and explore. I know that in a car, I'd most likely just be on my regular routes trying to get to the location that I need to go. And on the motorcycle, I'm so much more inclined to take the long way home, to kind of go rogue and go to a weird different location, and to really explore strange parts of the cities. And especially the fact that you're so small and you can get through to little places, you can really open up your world on a bike. From another practical standpoint, it just physically takes up less space. I live in a studio apartment with an underground garage, and for the cars that's more expensive and they take up more space, and for my motorcycle, for a while I had to pay to keep it down there, but now I keep it temperature controlled in its own little spot for free. So there's a huge financial incentive there, although don't get into motorcycling if you're trying to save money. But it physically takes up less space, it's only 2 wheels, and so that's pretty minimal if you ask me. It's more gas efficient, so I save on the miles per gallon you get on the motorcycle, even on my Ducati. It's far better than you'd get in a truck. Motorcycling gets in touch with some of the psychological elements of minimalism as well. It requires a certain amount of focus and intentionality that demands more of you than a car does. Obviously, you should always be focused and intentional while you're driving a car, but on a motorcycle, you're more at risk, you're more vulnerable, and you enter this kind of meditative state. You're balancing a machine, you have to use your body to enter curves and to interact with your environment, and you feel the road beneath you. And something about that, it just requires an intense amount of focus and presence that you might not get if you're accustomed to driving a car. It quiets the mind, and on the concept of the physicality of riding a motorcycle, it demands certain things of your body, and it can kind of keep you in shape. I know that the more I started riding, the stronger my legs got and my core. It's a very physical way of getting around, and it's not like cardio or anything like riding a bicycle, but there's a certain physicality to riding a bike that keeps you strong. It also gives you this kind of internal fortitude as well. It strengthens, I think, like the way your brain operates. It makes me a more attentive person on the road when I am in a car, and it makes me kind of like more empathetic. Like I'm in tune with the road and my fellow road warriors because I am out there. I'm exposed to the elements, and I am seeing a lot more than I might in a car. It's also a fantastic way to connect with people, and connection is kind of the point of minimalism. If you watch or listen to The Minimalist, Joshua and Ryan, they talk a lot about how it's not really about the things. The things are getting in the way of your connections with people. The prompts are, how could you live a more meaningful life with less? And that's what you're trying to get from it. You're trying to get meaning. As much as like any kind of subcultures can lead to a certain amount of excess, and I need this thing, I need that thing, I need 8 of these, I need 12 of those, and I need this little thing with the fringe. The real point of it all is to connect with people. So obviously you could run with motorcycling and be the opposite of a minimalist. You could be a maximalist and you could never talk to people, and you could just trick out your bike and buy all these things that you don't need. But really, it's a phenomenal icebreaker, a tool to connect with people. It's an instant community. Like if you want to make friends into adulthood, getting into motorcycling or getting into a new hobby in general is a phenomenal way to do that. You have this common factor. There's plenty to talk about. There's many levels of engagement, and it can just introduce so much abundance. I've met so many fantastic people and had so many wonderful new opportunities because of motorcycling. From more of a psychological perspective, I touched on the fact that motorcycling requires this level of focus and attentiveness and kind of a quiet headspace. Sometimes you can go on a tangent if there's not too much going on the road, but there's always something going on, and it's a great way to feel present. You're literally in a power pose, and so I think that affects your brain, and it gives you this sense of calm. There's a connection between posture, physical expressions, and how you feel on the inside, and your anxiety plummets. Maybe the first time you get out there riding and you're concerned about the traffic, or if some sort of obstruction comes up, you can definitely feel anxious. But for me, I feel this amazing sense of calm, this amazing sense of focus, and it's a fantastic way to de-stress and actively meditate. For someone who's like a little bit neurotic, or the tendency to be neurotic like me, you sometimes want to have this active experience while meditating. So that's why exercise is great and yoga is great. And motorcycling is another great excuse to go somewhere and just enjoy the journey. It motivates you to just get on your bike and go, go exploring. It gets you in touch with this kind of childlike sensibility that you might not be getting regularly enough. You can kind of get bogged down in the grind and in working and in not having any fun. You can curate until you're not really doing anything that's not self-serving or just for the joy of it. And I think for me, I work only a mile away from my home. I could eat, get groceries, work, and everything within like a square mile. That's just how my life is set up right now. But because I have this bike, I go places that I never would go. I routinely go to natural spaces. It really drives me to have this experience with the world that I definitely miss when I'm on the computer all the time. All my work is computer work. I'm sure a lot of people who work in offices can empathize with this as well. And sometimes your entertainment is staring at another screen. So it is so important to get out there and get in touch with the real world. It's still a machine-aided experience. It's certainly not a utterly natural experience to be on the bike, but it can take you to these natural spaces, and it just like gets you more in tune with your environment. It really does make you feel the importance of the journey. So many people are milestone-oriented. They are empirically motivated. They want to see certain stats. They want to see a certain amount in their bank account. They want to have X, Y, and Z before a certain age, and they want to see this many likes on their posts. But when you are more invested in learning, in personal growth, in the journey of everything, you get a sense of tranquility, and you get this kind of unceasing motivation, because to some extent, no matter what the end result is, you learn so many valuable things and you had so many valuable experiences that's all worthwhile. So I think a lot of people who ride motorcycles, they just want to go anywhere. They don't even have to, think of all the people who go cross country. It's not that they had to get from New York to Nevada. They could have taken a plane if they wanted to get there. It's about the journey, it's about the growth, and it's about challenging yourself. Going on incredibly long rides is physically, emotionally, mentally challenging, and being able to accomplish that is being able to feel it every step of the way. The accomplishment is like the denouement. The accomplishment is the exhale, if anything, and then you inhale to do the next thing, but you get absorbed in the process. And that's something that I love about motorcycling. Just getting on the bike, getting lost, and not worrying about being lost. And that's a beautiful thing to do by yourself, to do with somebody else. You can make a community around it, and you can also make it your own personal journey. It's the journey distilled down to its purest form. It's a really positive point in my life, and it's definitely something that I talk about. Go naked, the whole concept of naked bikes. They don't have fairings, and even on the bike, no matter what kind of bike you ride, you're naked. You're out there, you're wearing your gear and stuff, but if you're in a collision or something really intense, you're more vulnerable than someone in a car. You're more vulnerable than a lot of people out there, and that is empowering. Being able to be nude in that way, that vulnerability speaks to this kind of different state of being. You're a little bit divorced from your ego to some extent, and you're just out there connecting with the world and trying to stay alive. I mean, that's kind of like a weird way of putting it. Maybe I won't mention it. It's a whole lifestyle to me. I think even before I started riding, I was the type to be vulnerable and be out there, and now I've got this mode of transportation that's like the ultimate vulnerability. It's a conversation starter. It's a real blessing in my life, so I appreciate that. I'm just going on a tangent here. I'm sure there's so many more ways that motorcycling and minimalism converge. I'd love to keep talking about this. I hope this wasn't too scattered. Thank you for joining me beneath this tree on this crisp early autumn day to talk motorcycles and minimalism. It's really important aspects of my life, and I'd love to share more about them.